It's Nub, it's Nub, it's Nub TV. It's Nub, it's Nub, it's Nub TV.
Okay, I just want to say big welcome to Brian Allan, author and publisher of Phenomena magazine. Hello, Brian, and welcome to Nub TV. It's really good to have you on.
Mark, thank you for inviting me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Okay, thank you. Let's just talk firstly about your new book about secrets, the Book of Secrets. What's it about?
Well, Book of Secrets, what it is, it's stuff. Well, it's my 14th book, I should add. So if you like, it's a distillation of stuff that's been floating around in my mind for years. And there's 21 chapters in it, and they cover just about every, because the actual subtitle of the book is Aliens, Ghosts and Ancient Mysteries. And that's exactly what the book's about, aliens, ghosts and ancient mysteries.
Excellent. Okay, brilliant. Okay, I mean, there's a few things I'd like to talk to you about from the book. You mentioned about the Montauk project.
Yeah.
What did you find out about that? Was it real or? Well,
all I can guarantee is real. That it is a Montauk, and it is there, and okay. That's. But as to whether there is a Montauk monster, and there was that room where they could transmit people through different dimensions, through time, if you will, and there's a Montauk monster. As to whether that is true, it's a toss-up. It really depends who you ask. The only thing is, I can guarantee there is a Montauk base and it's still there.
Okay, well, okay, yeah.
I know they have done scans, sounds, ultrasound scans underground, to try and find these vast rooms and areas that are supposed to be there. But as far as I know, they haven't actually found any. But did something? I think something odd did go on there. There's very little doubt about that.
So who was there? Who was controlling that?
It would be the US government, I would imagine. Ultimately, it'd be them, because they were paying for it after all.
Sure. And was that kind of mind control stuff involved?
It would, amongst other things, I guess. But Al Bielek, he's involved. I mean, I think most of the characters that have cropped up over the years in aspects of the book have been attached to this. Because once you go down the road of Montauk, the whole thing opens up into a spider's web, and everything's interconnected when you go down the level. Yeah,
because Al Bielek, he was an interesting character. Yeah. Wasn't he involved in some sort of Philadelphia experiment?
He was indeed. Now, I haven't written about the Philadelphia experiment because that's been pretty much done to death. For the same reason that I didn't write about Roswell, because that's done to death. I mean, you'll never get a straight answer about that, because there's been so much lies, spin, and disinformation and misinformation, Peter. You'll never get to the bottom of what happened there.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Although I did read a book a little while ago, and the woman who wrote it, whose name just went, her name was Rubinstein. Okay. Anyway, but she reckoned that what crashed at what crashed at Roswell probably came from Russia. She reckons it was Russian.
Really?
Yeah.
That's I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, and she puts a damn good case up for it as well. But you need to read the book.
Okay, that sounds fascinating. Okay, thank you. And another area I'd just like to look at. What secrets are the Vatican holding?
Aha. Right. Well, some say it amounts to medieval washing lists or medieval shopping lists or stuff. But I would think there's enough in the Vatican archives to sink the Catholic Church, sink it without trace. But among the other things that are supposed to be in it are the bones of St. Peter. Okay. Because he was after all the first pope upon whom Christ supposedly built his church was on Peter. So the bones of St. Peter are supposed to be there. They've been prayed over at various times. The third secret of Fatima, the real third secret of Fatima, is still there, because they reckon that what was read out claiming to be the third secret of Fatima was a pretty watered down version of events. It was pretty apocalyptic as far as I can make out.
Well, this is it. Yeah, there's another friend of mine, Rob Howells, who's an author. He says the third secret which the Vatican has is some sort of apocalyptic, that the end of the world will be preceded by by pandemic.
Yeah.
So,
Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Yeah, obviously, I don't want that.
Because that's only one part of it, because you're also following up with wars and rumors of wars, and it's exactly what's happening right now. The world's in a goddamn mess, quite frankly, with wars and people getting murdered and killed and lies and all the rest of it. But another thing that's supposed to be really, and I think one of the most significant things is Satan. It actually said that Satan himself is kept imprisoned in the Vatican vaults. Which is a pretty big claim to make, because there's absolutely no evidence for it.
No.
But the other thing, the other couple of things while we're in here is grimoire. There's a series of grimoires. Now they are in the Vatican archives. There's no two ways out the secret archives. Particularly the worst or the most notorious grimoire ever written, which was the grimoire of Pope Honorius III, which is supposedly one of the most evil books ever written. Now, the odd thing is why would you think that an organization devoted supposedly to Christ would write books of this kind? Well, it was supposed that if priests and bishops and popes and all the rest of it could command angels, they could also command the other side as well. So this is why that Pope Honorius assembled this collection of spells, and they're all involved with invoking Satan and one thing and another. Another thing that's supposed to be there, but there's not quite so much evidence for this, is a thing called the chronovisor. Now, this is all available on Google if you want to, if the viewers want to watch this. The chronovisor was literally a device to look back in time.
Wow!
And it is said that they actually used it. The priest that actually invented this thing, one was a physicist.
Oh, wow.
They actually invented this thing, and Father Emeti, I think that was his name, that they actually viewed the crucifixion of Christ. All these things were actually seen using this device, the chronovisor.
What sort of device is it? I mean, how do you describe it?
Pretty much as it says, it's kind of like a steampunk TV, for want of a better word. Yeah, that really, seriously, that's the best way of putting it. A steampunk TV. And
so how does it access the past?
Well, how does it do it? Okay. If you remember the original film of the Time Machine, when you had the guy climbed and he just dialed in, the numbers, switched it on and off it went, and chunted through the years. I think the chronovisor operated, but as to the actual technique it uses, the mechanisms, I haven't a clue. I have no idea. But it's certainly supposed to be there. But they've also, another thing they're supposed to have is absolute proof of life of ET, that ET is here and has been since the beginning. Now, I tend to extrapolate from that a little bit and claim that a lot of biblical happenings, of biblical events, things that were encountered in the Bible and written about, could well have been ET that they were talking about, because there's every reason to suppose that they were ET, because the people that were writing about them had absolutely no other frame of reference than to attribute these things to a heavenly source, from God and the Almighty and all the rest of it. So they probably have inadvertently absolute proof of the existence of ET and their existence here on Earth since the beginning of time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about the Nephilim?
Amongst other, that's one of the other chapters in the book. I talk about the Nephilim, but there is one thing that I thought was quite interesting that I came across. Have you ever heard of something called the Collins Elite?
No, I haven't.
Right. Okay. Google, again, you go and seriously Google this.
Okay.
I found out about this, and it was Nick Redfern that came up with the idea.
And
I spoke to Nick about this, and he assures me this Collins Elite does exist. And the Collins Elite, it's, if you like, it was inspired or engendered by UFOs and research into UFOs, that they set up this group called the Collins Elite to look into it. But the problem with the Collins Elite was it had its own agenda. Okay. Now, this agenda seems to have developed from right-wing American religious
Sure.
outlooks. Okay.
Yeah.
And the outlook, and what actually came out of the Collins Elites investigation, the ETs were not mechanical, they were not devices, they were not flying machines from other realities or
Yeah.
dimensions. They came from hell.
Oh gosh.
And all ETs, extraterrestrials, are in fact demons or associated with hell in some degree. But that, I think, was very much to do with the agenda with which this thing was set up. And the name, the Collins Elite, it's not, it was, this is when you start getting into the CIA and the FBI and all the rest, and all these obscure fundings, because you've got to remember that this comes back from the late 50s, early 60s. And the CIA was just realizing how much muscle it had, because not only was it beyond control, out of control, it was beyond control, because it answered to no one but the head of the CIA, even the president of the USA.
Sure.
You know, they were not answerable to him either. They were created to compete, you know, save America, if you like, from the Red Menace. And I think they're going to have to be doing it pretty soon again. But that's what they were created to do. But the Collins Elite got its name from some member of the group who were actually part of this thing. But as I say, all their prognostications came down to the fact that ETs were from hell, and the occupants of the ETs were demons or whatever. But did it exist? Yes, it did. And that was one of their findings. But they also found out that, yes, these things do fly about in the sky, but they're not extraterrestrial.
Okay. So they're Satan's minions, is that what they're saying?
That's a pretty fair
guess. That does tie in with the American evangelical rapture kind of movement, doesn't it? I guess.
Oh, yeah, the rapture.
I mean, what's your personal opinion on ET, and have we had contacts? And yeah. And do you think they're extraterrestrial?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Well, the last book I co-wrote with Barry Fitzgerald, we looked at what we considered was that there was a race of, or there was entities that have been here since the beginning of time, and this is where it all starts to sort of flit together.
Sure.
And these things have been here. They're shape changers, absolute perfect shape changers. We don't even know what they look like. That is how long they've been here and how often, because they will take on the appearance of anything or anyone that you're interacting with, especially in relation to the culture that encounters them and the era that encounters them. They will remain in effect invisible. But I think that is a link, that these things, you could call them ET if you like, but I think but we reckon they came from a void. You know, literally they came from nothing. There is absolutely nothing there except information that they glean on this side of reality and they take back with them, because they do die. They do die if they haven't latched onto somebody. And the outcome we came to in this particular book is that what they're directing us to develop a means by which they can exist here in our reality permanently, without the need for meat machines like us, because we rot and die and all the rest of it and go away. And we think that their ultimate aim is to create a form of artificial intelligence that they can latch into and stay here permanently, because they need us. We don't need them, but by God, they need us to exist. That's going off the subject.
Does Elon Musk know about this?
He may well do, because if he probably is one of them, I would imagine.
What's that other guy as well in America that owns the hotel chain? What's his name? The name just slipped. And he has a private corporation that does a lot of research into
the guy, he actually bought Skinwalker Ranch, did he not?
That's the one, the guy bought Skinwalker Ranch.
And his name's completely gone out of my head.
How much he has. I can see his haircut and he's
his little moustache and all that. I can see his face.
We know who we're talking about.
We know exactly what we're talking about.
Okay.
And so you know what? The second you sign off, his name will just pop straight into my head. So there you go.
Of course it will do. It'll come to me in a minute. But so you think ET is already here, and they're kind of using the human race, you would say, using planet Earth?
They're using planet Earth, specifically us, to maintain a foothold on the planet itself, because they need us. They must have us
So have they interfered with our evolution?
continually.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that the gap from Neanderthal to Homo sapiens,
Yeah.
that was engineered by them. I'm pretty sure it was. Although they're starting to find now that Neanderthal man was not as backward as he seems to have been,
No,
because
there's
he was
more and more evidence now, isn't there?
pretty sophisticated. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's really, really fascinating. Okay, just something a bit different now, because we're also a music show. What music are you into, Brian?
Hard and heavy.
Really? Excellent.
Yeah, hard and heavy. I'm trying to remember on the other hand, I sent away to Japan for an album.
Mhm.
It was about a girl who she overdosed in the 1970s. Her name was Judy Still. And
Okay.
the song is called Jesus Was a Crossmaker. Not a religious song, I might add, because it's not
Okay.
religious, but it's the melody will actually, if you're not reaching for the Kleenex by the time it's finished, there's something wrong with
Really?
it.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely stunning. It's a stunning piece of music. But I had to send to Japan to get the album. But like I say, she OD'd in the 70s. But that's what a lot of people did in that era, sadly enough. Yeah.
So if you were abducted by aliens, taken to the Pleiades, and had access to one album telepathically, what would the album be?
Anything by Led Zeppelin, probably.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. That would be loud and heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, they were massively into the occult and stuff as well, weren't they?
Well, Jimmy Page was. He bought Crowley's place on the bank on the shores of Loch Ness, at Bulliskin House. He bought that place, and he hung on to it for a while, stayed there a while as well. But it burned to the ground. Eventually, it burned to the ground not all that long ago. Actually,
Probably the best place for it, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. Actually, Crowley, an interesting guy,
Yeah.
without a doubt. He's one of the people you'd like to have met, but not on your own and not in the dark.
You don't want to be friends with him or enemies.
No. But having said that, you've got to ask yourself, was the guy a magician? I think he was, and I think he could do stuff. I think
he could. Yeah, I think he could as well. He had access to some secret knowledge, maybe.
Well, I think he could, because I can't remember the actual term he put upon it, but what amounts to he was actually editing reality. Was the best way of putting it, because it's the best way of putting it. And I can't remember the precise form of words, but that's what amounted to. He could edit reality.
Okay, and as we've just mentioned, Loch Ness. What's your impression of recent Nessie sightings? Is it just
Nessie sightings? Well, they've got about as much validity as any of the rest of them. I mean, it's also been said that around Loch Ness, it's a window area, it's a portal, or there is a portal in the vicinity. And this is where this thing materializes through as it sees fit, when it's able, maybe. But as to a regular monster or sort of serpentine thing in Loch Ness, I don't know. I really don't know. There may be, because the sightings have been going on since the 12th century, I think. I mean,
absolutely.
You're going back well over 1,000 years. So there may well be something there, but it's not something that stays there on a regular basis, I wouldn't think.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And, finally, what's your opinion on Bigfoot, Sasquatch? Do you think there's such a creature? Okay.
Now, at one point, I was pretty ambivalent about this, but I've been editing a book by a guy called Joe Stewart from Michigan.
Okay.
Now, Joe is a Sasquatch. He's a demonologist, I might add, and I mean a demon. This guy does the business. I've seen the films he's taken.
Oh, wow.
Although whether they're demons in the biblical sense, I'm not sure. But he's certainly battling something on a regular basis. In fact, he binds them. He binds them to objects and buries the object.
So he's doing something good. He's not.
Oh no, he's not messing.
Oh, that's good. I like to.
Yeah, but as far as Sasquatch is concerned, he's investigated Sasquatch all over the USA, but mainly in the Michigan area. And this is when you tend to forget how big the USA actually is, what a vast country that actually is, how the states are absolutely not, the various states are huge as well. And he has established that the Sasquatch, the live in tribal groups, they may not necessarily originate in this reality. He thinks they could be transdimensional as well.
Whoa.
He also is aware that they can and do communicate with us. They
Yeah.
can and do understand at least some English, because he's set up camp with his buddies,
Yeah.
and these Sasquatch have been hovering about in the darkness outside the campfire, and they'll be talking about stuff, and suddenly the place will go quiet, and whatever, and the Sasquatch who have been around will manifest some aspect of what they've been talking about, you know. And they also throw stones. They've also got a sense of humor. He finds out. They'll throw stones at them, all sorts of stuff. But as I say, at one point I would have said Sasquatch. Well, yeah, sure. But now, yeah, the Sasquatch do exist. But like Joe, I don't think they exist in this reality. I think that they are transdimensional. I think.
Well, yeah, I mean that's an important issue, because I think a lot of this phenomena is transdimensional, and is this physical reality is just one plane of existence. That's my personal opinion.
I think you're right. Absolutely right. Yeah. Well, I'm 2 years of being 80 years of age, and I had my first encounter when I was 3.
Wow.
And that was, I now realise that for years I wondered what it was. I thought it was maybe it was a goblin, a demon, a fairy even. Now I realise it wasn't. I think it was an ET, and I think it was in my bedroom, and I think it was watching me. It didn't interfere. It didn't come near me. It stood there in a one-piece green suit. It was like a one-piece green suit. This is in 1946.
Okay, right.
1946, yeah.
Yeah.
And that image has stayed with me, burning bright like a brand in my memory ever since.
Wow.
And because when it stood, it was standing with its arms folded, and it was watching me, lying in bed sleeping, or I was awake, obviously.
Wow.
But it was standing watching me. And the thing is, round its waist, it had a belt, but it wasn't a buckle. It was a device of some kind it was wearing around its waist. And, I opened my eyes, closed them, and I'm thinking, is it? And open, yeah, and it was still there.
Wow.
And being a child, because I wasn't being messed around with and it wasn't doing anything threatening, I fell asleep again.
Yeah.
And I woke up and it's gone. But oddly enough, a few months later, this would be the same year, I guess, a couple of months later, I had a lucid dream, for want of a better word. And I saw, because don't forget that UFOs weren't known about then, and what in their traditional shape of like two plates up, yeah. And I saw this huge UFO. It was in this dream, and I saw this thing. And it's now that I realise the two are interlinked. And for some reason, I had been selected for some purpose, and this thing had come to see me, because I've had encounters with the other side most of my life, not because I set out to do it. These encounters have all been pretty, just off the cuff. They just happened. Voices, seeing things, all sorts of stuff.
Is that because you're more susceptible, open to it, or is it?
I think so. That I will not deny these things out of hand. I'll always keep in mind that these things are there, and they do, if they so wish, can make contact with us.
I think as well, if you are open to it and you kind of not expect it, but you're more open to it, you're more likely to come to you, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll give you an example of this. In fact, and now I just say thank you. I'll be sitting writing, I'll be researching something, and I'm going to write about that, and off I'm going. I'll need to look at that. Then, like a few hours later, or the following day, all of a sudden, something will come into my inbox, or something will be on the TV, and it's exactly what I'm looking for. Exactly that piece of information I'm looking for. And I just say thanks. But I'll give it to two very good examples of this. I was preparing a PowerPoint, and oddly enough, it was Crowley was involved in it. And I was scanning for decent images of them to use in the PowerPoint. And on the radio comes Lemmy shouting, "Mr. Crowley!" And I'm like, seriously, I'm not kidding. And the following day, I was looking for, it was a bomber, a type of bomber, and I can't remember who. I think it was. No, I can't remember the band. Deep Purple. Deep Purple. This voice shouts, "The Bomber," and I just said, "Well, thanks." And this sort of, honest to God, this thing happens. Sort of thing happens all the time.
That's kind of like synchronicity, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And the more you notice it, the more it'll happen to you, I think.
See, I don't think what I'm doing is putting chance events and making them fit. I mean, if I've got the actual cursor hanging over Crowley's face, and from the
Sure.
radio shouts Mr. Crowley, and that happens in this is in 2 successive days.
Yeah.
Bomber, the bomber. That's more than synchronicity.
Okay, I'll just share with you a weird thing that happened to me. I think it was last year. I'm in a band. Okay, my band's called the Pocket Gods.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we had a single out last year. It was called Perfect Blue.
Mhm.
Okay, and I was on holiday, like I do, in Kessingland in Suffolk.
Mhm.
Okay, small little fishing village,
Mhm.
and I was just scrolling through Radio
Mhm,
6, and on came on the Pocket Gods, Perfect
Yeah.
Blue.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought, oh wow, that's really good radio play on holiday. But the
Good
weird
show.
thing about that was Steve Lamacq was the DJ.
Yeah, yeah.
He said, "Oh, you know, it's great to have that request in from someone from Kessingland, same village." So someone had been
Wow.
in touch
Okay.
from
Yeah,
Kessingland
yeah, yeah.
just prior to that song being played. So that was like, whoa, okay, that's weird. So yeah, but I
Yeah,
put that as synchronicity.
I'm absolutely open to all this sort of things. On a Friday night,
Mm.
what we have, there's 15 people involved in it. We call ourselves the Friday Freaks, basically.
Okay.
But you've got people from all over. Yeah, the people from America, from Europe, mainly from the UK, from Scotland, England, all over.
Mm.
And it was Steve Meara's one of the guys. I don't know if you've come across Steve. Steve
No, I
Meara.
haven't. No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great guy, lovely guy, Steve. In fact, he's the actually CEO of the magazine that I edit. He actually
Okay.
he founded Phenomena magazine and asked
Brilliant.
me on board to edit it.
Yeah.
Barry Fitzgerald from Ireland, another guy that in fact, if you can get hold of Barry, have a word with him because he's
Okay, we'll do.
damn
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
That Barry.
Okay.
Well, people like that of their caliber on board. And Nick Kyle's another guy. He was the president of the Scottish Society for Psychical Research, which is now sort of defunct, but and he is a pretty powerful medium as well, and he's a really good guy as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Brian. It's been very enlightening. I really appreciate your time, and I really enjoyed our chat. So much
It's
appreciated.
been a pleasure for me as well, and thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
It's Nub, it's Nub, it's